Hello, this is Mike, and this is PHP Programming Lesson 47, and today we're going to actually talk about Flash Builder's Data Wizard. Now, we've spent the last 15 videos or so showing you how to build a data-driven class that talks to a database, and we're going to actually do the same thing with Flash Builder with basically just a few clicks and drags of a button. I'm going to show you what Adobe has done as far as enabling you to create all this software automatically or to auto-generate this code. So let's go right to Flash Builder. So we're in Flash Builder, and it looks a lot like PHP Eclipse, of course, and we're going to go ahead and right-click on the screen here, just as we would with PHP Eclipse, and just create a Flex project. And we'll give it a name, and we'll just put creating a data class, just to be creative there. And let's go ahead and save that. And what you want to make sure in the process is that you have included the PHP application server type here in the drop-down menu. And when you do that, let's go ahead and go to Next. The software asks you, well, do you know the root of the server? And it is c-wamp www, and go ahead and put the local host as well as far as http // localhost. And you can go and validate configuration, and when you do, it's going to actually create a service class for you in the data class debug folder. So let's go hit Next, and at that point, everything's ready to go. Flash Builder is just finishing up automatically generating the code you need, and you've created an application class, and you're ready now to start working with the database. So here in the navigation view, you can actually see the class you actually created. It's called creating a data class, and we're going to go ahead and click on that application there. And what I'm going to do is just right-click on that and actually delete everything else. So I'm only looking at one application. One application is open. And I can actually go to Design View, and at this point I can actually start working with my data wizard. So let's click over to Design View. So at this point we actually want to create the data service. So you want to make sure you clicked on the application, creating a data class, and go to Window, and go to Data Services. And when you do that, up comes this nice little application. When you hit Connect to Data Service. And when you do, you get a choice of connecting to HTTP, PHP, WSDL, or XML. Click on PHP, and this is going to walk you through the entire step. Go Next. And at this point you can browse to your PHP class or click to generate a sample. We're going to click to generate a sample. Now at this point the software wants to know the username, the password, the host name, the server port, and the database. That is all in your PHP Eclipse config file. Let's go ahead and look that up real quick. So if you go back to the original applications that we've been working on and just find one of the config files, here's one right here. You can see all the information that you need is right there. Database name or server name is localhost, root, blank password, storyboard example 3306. So all that information is included in the config file. You're actually putting it in here. And what Adobe is going to do is actually hard code this into its file. So when you go back and recode the file generated by Adobe, you actually want to create your own config file. So the username here was root, password was blank, hostname is localhost, and the server port is 3306, all coming from your config file that you created earlier. Oh, we forgot to put the database name. And the database name is storyboard example. And at this point you actually want to connect to your database. And so it's going to your WAMP server, and it's actually looking at the particular database, storyboard example. And you actually click on the drop-down box, and you can see the tables appear here. In this particular case, we want to click on the sequences table. And we're just going to hit OK. And when we do, what Adobe is going to do is generate all the service code that we need to talk to that particular database. Hit Next. And you can see all the services that we actually hand-coded previously. Get all sequences, get by ID, create sequences, update sequences, delete sequences, count, and get sequences page is now being generated by Adobe automatically. So 15 videos are all done here in a click of a button. But why did we go through those 15 steps? Because this code is just starter code. You have to be able to go in and exchange this code, update this code, add some security to this code. So it's good to know how it was created, and that's actually why we went through the particular steps. And there you go. There's your database class. And as you zip down through that, there's all your username, password, server, port, database, and table names. What you're going to want to do is not put it here. You actually want to move that into a config file. Once again, this is just starter code for you to use. You're going to scroll down here, and we're going to see all the methods that we actually spent that time creating over the past 15 videos. And there's your get all sequences, for example, and get all by ID. And there's your create sequences and update sequences and delete sequences, and all that code that we created in the last 15 videos are here just by a simple drag and drop. And at this point, what I want to do is actually show you how to connect immediately to the database now that you have this service class created. Another thing I want to point out too is that this particular folder right here called the bin debug folder is actually got a little arrow on it, and what that arrow means is that it's actually tapping into the actual WAMP root folder, and in that WAMP root folder you'll find a number of folders. You've got a gateway PHP here that you're going to need to attach, that you're going to need to actually hook into your Zen. But you also have a file in your services package, and that's the actual PHP that was generated. So if you click on that, then once again that PHP that we created will come up. And if you want it, you can right click on that and open that up with your text editor and actually observe that in your screen. And there's all the code that we just generated. Isn't that nice? 15 videos of code just in a click and drag, and so that's what Adobe has done, and I think it's pretty fantastic. I definitely want to see more of this type of stuff in the future. But once again, it's just base code. You actually need to go in and reprogram this and build up the security and work with it just a little bit. So actually, let's start using it though and actually show you how easy it is actually now to bring data to the screen. And one of the problems with PHP is you have to build all your pages up, but with Adobe Flash Builder, you actually just drag components to the screen and actually auto-connect to them. Let's show you an example. If I come to Windows and I go to Components, I can now just drag a data grid out on the screen. And now I can actually connect that data grid to all our data. So all I need to do actually to bind to our data class is actually right click on here and go to bind to data. And at this point it opens up the data class, the sequence service that I just created, and says what method do you want to do. And actually the method I want to create is actually I want to get all the sequences or all the data. And at that point I can just say OK. And see immediately this is actually populated with ID, title, position, visible, and comments, and that's a lot that has been done with no coding at all. Let's go ahead and run this program and see if that's exactly what I get. And you can see I've immediately populated my data grid with everything that's in my database. And I haven't done anything as far as manipulating data or moving it around, but you can see everything's there, all the data is there. So just that was done so quickly, and that's probably why I'm so jazzed up about Adobe Flash Builder. There's a number of other things you can do. I mean, I want to interact with Flash Builder and the different methods I create, like the create and delete and all those things. The way I can actually auto-generate that code is go up to Data and go to Generate Form. And when I hit Generate Form, then I have a whole number of options I can actually choose from. Say I want to create a sequence. Then I just click on that, hit Next, hit Finish. Then immediately all that code to create a sequence is auto-generated for me. Now it kind of overlaps itself a little bit, so you have to move things around just a little bit to get it all right. And now all I need to do is actually put in the ID, title, position, and visibility, and it'll actually create that sequence for me. Let me show you how that works. Let's say I want to create ID 6, so I can put 6 here. I can go ahead and put a title here. Let's put Abram, once again. The position would be position 6. It would be my 6th page in a sense, or my 6th sequence. Let it be visible, and comments are Abram becomes Abraham. And then I hit create sequence, and I'm actually going to refresh that so I can actually see what I did. So we can actually see that I had a sequence 7 added to my table, not a sequence 6. Why was that? Why didn't I get 6? Well, the point is that the database itself remembers that I originally had a 6 and that had deleted it, so it just skipped to the next number for me. Real quick here, though, you can see my page position is 6, so that's the way it's supposed to be. So I want to order these pages according to the position numbers, not to the IDs, because these can get all kind of garbled up, but the positions numbers will not be. So everything's working fine, and you can do all the same thing just by creating different sequences. You can have delete, auto-generate all the full CRUD that you need. I've actually had several videos on the web already showing you how to do that, so we won't go through that whole process. But let's quickly go and take a look at the design side. So I'll quit this. We can click on this and just go to Source and go to the handler, the button handler. And the button handler, you can see that all the code that I needed to do what I just did has been automatically created on the source side for me. Now once again, I've already done a number of videos on the web on how to do this and how to create and work with this, but we have a different perspective now because we've actually worked with all this PHP and we understand it. So we understand what we need to do to this code in order to fix any errors that we have and also upgrade its security. So that's the last of this sequence, and we're going to be moving on with this in the future for the next lesson, lesson 4. But this is very powerful, and we're going to be using this and working with this in the future. So thanks for listening. This is Mike Lively, and I'll see you next time.